Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're attempting to tackle one of the biggest questions out there. It's about personal fulfillment. And it's anchored by, believe it or not, the smallest symbol imaginable,
The dash.
the dash.
That's really the mission, isn't it? You look at any tombstone, you see two dates, birth and death. And right between them is that tiny little mark.
The dash.
And that dash is, well, it's everything. Every choice, every moment lived, every single risk you took. The sources we've looked at are all asking that one huge question. How will you make your dash count?
It sounds so simple, almost like a motivational poster. But the path the sources lay out it's about radically shifting your whole perspective.
It's a guide for intentional living, how to really be present, how to align with your purpose, and how to manage your energy.
Moving from that autopilot mode we all fall into.
Exactly, to a life that's deliberately chosen. And what's so fascinating is where it starts. It's not with some grand 5-year plan.
The spreadsheets.
No. The counterintuitive starting point, according to these sources, is you have to first learn to see the world as if for the very first time.
Okay, let's unpack that because that's a huge idea, this radical shift in perspective.
It is.
And we start with this beautiful concept. It's a French term, vujade.
Vujade. Yeah, and it's essentially the antidote to, well, to sleepwalking through your own life.
Well, we all know déjà vu, that spooky feeling you've experienced something before.
Right. So vujade is the total opposite. It's looking at something completely familiar, your daily routine, your office,
Your own apartment.
your own apartment, and seeing it as if it's completely strange and unknown. It forces you to just break free from those mental shortcuts that let us tune out almost everything.
And there's a fantastic illustration of this. It's from Alexandra Horowitz's work, On Looking. She was planning to take a walk with her son, who was 19 months old. And for her, the walk started when they hit the sidewalk.
Of course. That's when the walk begins for an adult. But for her son, the walk had already started the second they stepped out of the apartment door.
Right. The hallway, the elevator. For us, those are just transitions, things to rush through to get to the real experience.
But for the child, that elevator wasn't just a box. It was this whole system of buttons and lights and smells. The lobby floor was a new terrain to explore.
The sources really point out that children are the masters of this. We are the students.
Totally. For them, a cardboard box is a spaceship. A walk to the mailbox is a grand expedition. They find wonder where we just find, tedium.
Because they haven't learned to dismiss the present moment yet.
And that learned dismissal, that cynicism, that is the great enemy of the dash. Adults choose not to see the details, not because we can't, but because our expertise tells us what's important.
The destination.
And what's disposable, the journey.
So we have a choice every single day. Do we crush that spirit of exploration with our, official adult way things should be done? Or do we learn from them?
It actually reminds me of Sun Tzu. He says that sometimes wisdom means pretending to be inferior to encourage excellence.
How does that apply here?
Well, if you apply it to your own attention, it means you have to recognize that the beginner, the one who doesn't know the route,
Yeah.
they see what the expert has literally trained themselves to ignore, and that fresh perspective is vital for living the dash.
Okay, so if we start with that fresh perspective, it immediately runs up against this immense weight of external expectations.
The tyranny of should.
Exactly. Should I be married by now? Should my career be further along? That's what steers us off course.
And it leads to drifting, which is the complete opposite of intentional living. The real question becomes, are the choices you're making aligned with who you actually are? Or are you just riding the current of what society expects?
The sources give a really powerful, maybe even countercultural example here with the pressure to be in a relationship.
The default societal setting.
Yeah. And then it draws on some religious texts, specifically 1 Corinthians 7 and Matthew 19.
And it's a really complex view. Paul, in 1 Corinthians, he basically says marriage creates both opportunity and limitation. The married person has duties to their spouse, which is a beautiful thing.
But also consuming.
Also consuming. But the unmarried person might have more potential for undivided attention to their purpose or their ministry.
And in Matthew, Jesus says that staying unmarried is a path that God helped people to accept. And again, that's not a knock on marriage.
Not at all. It's an affirmation. It says that choosing an unconventional path, one that society might see as incomplete, is valid. and it might even allow for a more focused devotion to your purpose.
So the point isn't to say one is better than the other.
No, not at all. The point is that both marriage and singleness have to be intentional choices, not just reactions to pressure. The key is to make choices aligned with your deepest self and, just as importantly, to affirm your friends who are on a different path.
If living intentionally means we have to defy these arbitrary shoulds, then how do we measure the cost of our choices, if not by society's rewards or punishments?
And this is where Robert Ingersoll comes in, and it's a massive conceptual shift.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Ingersoll's observation is the framework for all of this. He said, "There are in nature neither rewards nor punishments. There are consequences."
Wow. Okay, that changes everything. It moves us away from this moral lens of good choice, bad choice, and toward a scientific lens, a lens of cause and effect. If I choose an unorthodox career, I'm not going to be punished for it, but I will face specific natural consequences.
That is it, right there. Every decision ripples out. You can't escape consequences, but you can absolutely choose the consequences you're willing to accept.
So the consequence of never risking that path might be regret.
A kind of spiritual atrophy. But the consequence of risking it might be difficulty, financial instability, but also fulfillment and confidence. You just have to choose which consequence you're prepared to live with.
That requires a ton of conviction. Which brings us right to the next piece.
Yeah.
Genuine self-knowledge. The sources say the core purpose is to know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and be yourself.
But the self-knowledge they're talking about isn't surface-level stuff. It requires really courageous reflection. Flannery O'Connor had a much sharper definition.
And this is something that gets overlooked so often. She said, to know oneself is above all to know what one lacks.
It's such a powerful line. It means you have to measure yourself against some objective truth, not just keep bending the truth to fit how you want to see yourself.
It strips away all the comforting stories we tell ourselves.
It does, and the very first product of that kind of unflinching self-knowledge is real humility, not thinking less of yourself.
But thinking about yourself accurately.
Exactly, and that accuracy is essential. You can only make choices based on who you actually are, not who you wish you were.
This clarity, it connects directly to how we think about work. We're all told to follow your passion, right?
The classic advice.
But that can be really misleading or limiting.
Especially when your passion is fickle. Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs has such a brilliant, pragmatic take on this.
He says passion is too important to be without, but it's too fickle to be guarded by.
And then he clarifies it. He says, don't follow your passion, but always bring it with you.
Ah. So it's not some leader you have to chase.
No, it's a commitment. It's an intentional mindset you apply to whatever is in front of you. You bring the passion.
But practically, I mean, how do you bring your passion to the really tedious, soul-sucking parts of a job? Isn't that just fluff?
Well, that's where it links back to Vujade. Bringing passion means bringing intentional attention. It means finding the hidden complexity in that mundane task.
Okay.
Whether it's organizing a spreadsheet with some novel efficiency or finding a new way to connect with a difficult client, you're bringing your full self to it instead of just retreating into that autopilot of getting through it.
And you need a lot of energy to show up like that. Which brings us to Richard Feynman, the physicist. He had some really practical wisdom on this.
He did. He reminded us that our attention and energy are finite. They're constantly under attack.
His quote is just, "It's a brutal truth about managing your energy. Do not use your energy to worry. Use your energy to believe, to create, to learn, to think, and to grow."
It's so critical. If you could actually quantify the energy you lose to worrying about things you can't control, a deadline, something someone said 2 weeks ago.
The worry tax.
The worry tax. It's massive. And it's draining your potential for everything else. The sources are clear on where our actual power is. You can't change how people treat you. You can only change how you react. Worrying is the ultimate waste of energy.
So if we're going to use that finite energy wisely, the sources say we have to actively embrace difficulty.
Another one that goes against conventional wisdom.
Right. Life should be easy, we're told.
But the sources say, when you choose to do difficult things, life gets so much better. And notice the distinction there.
Better, not easier.
Better, not easier. That's the whole argument. Difficulty builds resilience, competence, self-confidence. The person who avoids struggle stays fragile.
And that fragility is a terrible consequence to live with. It goes right back to Ingersoll's law.
Exactly. You don't get punished for avoiding difficulty. You just experience the natural consequence. atrophy, the erosion of your skill, your confidence.
And on the flip side, you don't get rewarded for embracing it. You just experience the consequence of growth and strength.
You choose which one you want.
And that choice, choosing growth over atrophy, it requires aligning your mind and body. The sources really emphasize that. When the mind and body are in harmony, the mind works better.
Our well-being depends on honoring that whole integrated self. If your body is exhausted and neglected, your mental capacity for vujade, for intentional choice, it just plummets.
This whole framework, presence, self-knowledge, energy, it all seems to be an exercise in love and gratitude.
It is. Love is defined as self-expression. It's a manifestation of that integrated person who knows and trusts themselves. And gratitude is the practice that reorients you toward what matters, acknowledging the gift to the dash itself.
And the final piece, the part that ties it all together, is about building bonds,
Yeah.
affirming others.
Yes. Applying all of these principles outwardly. Being present for the people in front of you. Using vujade to see your friends and your partner anew.
Yeah.
Reaching out to affirm their worth, regardless of their status.
Supporting those unconventional choices.
Absolutely. Affirming that single friend as a complete person, not a temporary state. It's about being fully awake, not just to your own life, but to all the lives intertwined with yours.
So we come full circle back to the dash. The mission for you, the listener, is clear. It demands active steps. Practice vujade, see the walk that starts at your apartment door, make choices aligned with who you are, not what society says you should be.
Bring your passion with you. Choose the difficulty that leads to growth.
And spend that precious energy on creating and growing, not on worrying.
We make the dash count by recognizing that we actually lived, that we paid attention, we took control of our response to the world. And we end where the sources led us, with this powerful affirmation.
It's a beautiful day to know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and be yourself.
It's a beautiful day to really live the precious, irreplaceable dash between your dates.
Fantastic. Now, for one final thought for you to carry into your day, something to really mull over, think back to Robert Ingersoll's principle. We face consequences, not rewards or punishments. How does that view change the way you approach sacrifice or compromise in your life today? When you face a decision that feels difficult, where you have to give up immediate comfort, stop and ask yourself this one question. What natural long-term consequence, atrophy, or growth are you intentionally choosing right now?